lie after lie, because sometimes the most terrifying crimes are not loud. They're systematic. They're maintained. They're hidden in routine. In 1984, a young woman named Elizabeth disappeared. Police were told she had run away. A letter appeared explaining she had joined a cult. The case did not become a national emergency. There were no helicopters circling, no mass searches. Life continued, but Elizabeth had not run away. She had been led down into the basement by her own father, and that door had closed. For the next 24 years, Josef Fritzl lived two lives. Upstairs, grandfather, husband, tenant manager. Downstairs, jailer. Upstairs, sunlight, newspapers, neighbours. Downstairs, concrete, silence, confinement. The distance between those two worlds was measured in metres, but it might as well have been galaxies. The town did not know, the wife did not claim to know. Social workers visited the home, police interacted with the family, children played upstairs, and beneath them, another family existed, hidden. Because the most dangerous thing about this case is not that it happened in secrecy, is that it happened within reach of ordinary life. What allows a man to sustain control for 24 years? What allows a community to miss what sits beneath? What does evil look like when it wears patience instead of rage? Tonight, we step inside the house on Ebestrasse, inside the basement, inside the psychology of control. And we ask the question that makes this story so deeply disturbing. How much horror can exist beneath normality before someone hears the door close? This is what they hide, hidden crimes in plain sight. And this is the story of Josef Fritzl. This episode contains discussion of prolonged captivity, sexual abuse, incest, child abuse, and the death of an infant. The themes are deeply disturbing and may be distressing for some listeners. Listener discretion is strongly advised. If you want to understand what happened in that basement, you have to start long before the door closed. Josef Fritzl was born in 1935 in Austria, a country still recovering from war, rebuilding identity, reconstructing order. His father was imprisoned during much of his childhood. His mother, by multiple accounts later shared with journalists, was strict, controlling, dominant. We must be careful here. Many people grow up in strict homes and do not become criminals. But environment shapes perception. Control can be learned. Control can be admired. Control can feel like safety. By the 1950s, Josef Fritzl had crafted a life that appeared disciplined. He married Rosemary in 1956. They would have 7 children. He worked as an electrical engineer, a profession built on systems, wiring, circuits, precision. Colleagues described him as competent, practical, methodical, but there were fractures beneath the surface. In 1967, Fritzl was convicted of rape. He served approximately 18 months in prison. Later, he was convicted of indecent assault. These were not minor offences, they were violent sexual crimes, and yet after serving his sentence, he returned to family life. He resumed work. He resumed fatherhood. The community did not exile him. He folded back into normality. And here lies the first psychological tension. A man capable of sexual violence was allowed to re-enter a private, domestic environment with children. No monitoring, no long-term supervision, no systematic safeguard beyond the assumption that punishment equals reform. Multiple reports from extended family and acquaintances later described Josef as authoritarian at home, strict rules, rigid expectations. He was said to have demanded obedience. Again, strict parenting does not equal criminal intent, but dominance is a pattern, and patterns rarely appear only once. In interviews after the crimes were revealed, one of his sons described him as controlling and feared, a man who decided, a man who expected compliance, a man who did not tolerate defiance. Control was not just behaviour, it was identity. There is something deeply unsettling about offenders who maintain functional public lives, because chaos would be easier to detect. But Fritzl was not chaotic. He paid taxes, he renovated property, he collected rent, he maintained appearances. Psychologists often refer to this as compartmentalization, the ability to divide life into sealed emotional chambers. Above ground, husband, father, engineer. Below ground, something else. But that ability did not appear overnight in 1984. It had been rehearsed for decades. The prior convictions show that he already possessed sexual entitlement, capacity for violence, and the ability to continue living normally after harming someone. That combination is rare but dangerous. Josef Fritzl was born in 1966. She grew up in a house where authority was not questioned. In adolescence, tensions reportedly grew between her and her father. Teenage rebellion is normal, but rebellion inside a rigid authoritarian structure can feel threatening to the authority figure. In August 1984, Elizabeth was 18 years old, legally an adult, old enough to leave home, old enough to challenge control. And this is the moment where psychology sharpens, because control that is absolute does not tolerate independence. If dominance defines you, losing dominance feels like annihilation. On August the 28th, 1984, Fritzl told Elizabeth to help him carry a door into the basement. A practical request, an ordinary chore. She followed him downstairs. What happened next is not dramatised here. It is documented in court. He overpowered her, he restrained her, and he locked the door. But to understand that moment, you have to understand what it represented. It was not spontaneous rage. The basement had already been modified, doors reinforced, locks installed, soundproofing added. He had prepared the space. Preparation transforms impulse into intention. Days later, a letter appeared, written in Elizabeth's handwriting. It claimed she had run away to join a cult. It asked her parents not to look for her. Police investigated. There was no sign of forced entry, no body, no immediate evidence of foul play. The letter persuaded them. The case cooled, but here is the chilling detail. The letter was dictated by Josef Fritzl. He forced Elizabeth to write it. He mailed it himself. He manipulated authority with paperwork. This is the pattern again. Control, not only of bodies, but narrative. He did not simply imprison her. He rewrote reality above ground. Imagine the house in the days after her disappearance. Rosemary reportedly believed her daughter had left willingly. Siblings believed their sister had chosen another life. Grief, but no funeral. Absence, but no body. The family continued. Dinner at the table, bedrooms intact. One empty space explained away by a letter.